Welcome to Tailboard Talk, a fourth shift fitcast. The mission of Tailboard Talk and the fourth shift fitness is to educate and train fire service personnel to increase durability and decrease the potential for injuries and their associated costs. My name is Chris Morella, owner and founder of Fourth Shift Fitness. I'll use my experience as a personal trainer, strength coach, and 15-year veteran of the fire service to deliver tips, tricks, lessons, and information specifically geared towards the health and wellness of firefighters and paramedics. Each episode, you'll leave with immediate deliverables that will improve performance and resilience and keep you in the fight through your career and into retirement. Let's get into it.
That's true. What are we going to talk about today?
Fitness.
Like,
Finesse.
I know.
Hold on, I got my list. I can. Did you read the caption of my reel yesterday?
Yes, about the check whatever trailer lights light or whatever,
Trailer
and Nathan
brakes.
screaming.
Trailer brakes light.
Yeah.
The trailer brake warning light that says you have no trailer brakes. That ties into Mindfulness Week because I was very mindful of how absolutely aggravating it was, and I even told Katie, like, I cannot wait to get out of this car. Like, I need to get out of this because this is so stressful and so infuriating, but I can't go anywhere, and I have to pay attention to it because it kept dinging every. Well, what happened is it's a short or a loose wire somewhere, or I guess in the drum brake there's magnets, and if one of those magnets goes bad, it can send a bad signal back to the truck. And there's 4 brakes on the trailer because it's got 2 axles. Each wheel has a drum brake on it. So if one of those drum brakes sends back a signal that's weaker than the other 4, it shuts down all the brakes, and your truck says that all the brakes are bad.
That's annoying.
Well, then it's intermittent because it's either a wire or a magnet in there. So then it works and the alert goes away like it never happened. So it could happen like once or twice in half an hour. The wire moves and it says no brakes, and it just dings, and then it says no brakes, and then it goes away, and then dings and says no brakes, and then goes away. Or you could be on a bumpy road or going the right speed, and it does it like 30 times in a row where it goes ding, no brakes, and then clears, ding, no brakes, ding, no brakes, ding, no brakes, and just keeps going like that for like 5 minutes at a time. And every single time the chime goes off, and every single time you have to look down and look at it, and then you're like, how close am I following the semi truck in front of me, and who's behind me? And it was 9 hours of just white knuckling because there's no telling when these brakes were going to be there or not. And we wanted to get home. The other option was stop somewhere and hope that we could get it looked at or repaired, and then be there overnight with or without the camper maybe, and then hopefully make it home today and have to work tomorrow. So it was roll the dice, and we rolled them, and we just drove carefully and full of cortisol for 9 hours or 10 hours or whatever it was. But yeah, it was miserable. So in the moment I was like, I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything. I even thought, like, I tell you what I'm not doing is I'm not saying I'm so grateful for this opportunity to troubleshoot. Like, I'm not going to kid myself and be like, oh, gratitude and opportunities. I'm like, no, this just sucks. This sucks totally. I want out of this situation. And Nathan was being his crazy nutball self, yelling and throwing stuff and kicking seats. And you can't explain to him that you're about to drive everybody off the road and how close he is to death. So please stop yelling, but please don't be mad at me, kind of thing. But we got home and backed it in the driveway, which is usually like not too stressful because I live on a quiet street, but the driveway is a sharp angle and goes uphill, so it's kind of tricky. Parked it, and as soon as I hit the brake, like put it in park, and didn't even disconnect the trailer yet, just put it in park and set the parking brake, I was like instantly relieved. And I was worried driving home. I was going to have to tell Katie, like, listen, I need you to take these kids and go inside for a little bit, and I need to be I need some quiet time. But as soon as we parked, I was like, flip a switch, that stress is gone. We'll figure that out later. It's safe in the driveway, and who cares? And basically we just, like, I leveled it and chalked it. We took the food out of it and then locked the doors, and it rained all day today. So our stinky clothes are still in there. We're just like, we'll deal with that disaster later. And it was like, we went out and played in the yard and pretend like it wasn't even there. So I definitely wasn't mindful in the moment, and I wasn't grateful at all still, because
No.
I got to pay to get it fixed. But um, surprisingly, once we parked it and we were able to walk away from it, it was like a non-issue. But
Well, and that's the, I guess, teachable moment from the whole thing is that, yes, sometimes you are stressed in the moment and you can't let that stress go. But if you can learn how to let it go when it's time to be over, that's a win.
and following on that, I was thinking sometimes you shouldn't let it go. Like we talked about, is it a lion or a kitten last time?
Oh, that was a
And
lion.
yeah, it was a lion. So it's okay to be cortisol driven by that. Like, doesn't every time you're stressed, you don't have to figure out a way to make that stress evaporate because it's not healthy for you. Like, I needed to pay attention, and so I needed to be a little bit stressed out for that ride home. Not for the fun of like taking years off my life, but to the point of we have a 6,000 pound trailer and 4 people in the car, and pay attention to what's in front of you and when you need to stop or where your exit is to go onto the shoulder if you need to. But yeah, that was a lion, and you treat it like a lion. And then when the lion's sleeping, lion's sleeping. So I think we get lost in that a lot of like every piece of stress needs to be like covered up or dealt with immediately. Like you need to feel better immediately. No, man, I knew I was in for 9 hours of stress, and that stress was a valuable warning for me and a valuable stimulus for me to keep focused and to stick with it, because the other option was pretend it didn't exist and then maybe crash. So yeah, that was useful stress, regardless of how comfy it was. And I guess that's another lesson to learn, is sometimes stress is okay.
I like it. It's a good one.
Also, I don't know what they have in Nashville, but besides the head colds that Nathan gave us, we were all allergic to something down there. Like it was crazy. Like as soon as we got down there and got out of the car, I don't know if they have something blooming down there or what, but it was like histamine central. We were rocking and rolling all week long, but I feel like I'm still recovering from that as much as I was from the head cold.
You sound super congested
I feel
still.
fine. Yeah, like I'm not even that. I think I'm out of breath because I just ran up the stairs again, and that's what happens.
You know
But
what you need? Fitness program.
I need, I need to start fitting a fitness program into my program. But yeah, except for a little bit of it's really just my nose. Like my head doesn't feel stuffy. I don't feel foggy at all. Um, yeah, it's weird. It's all just my nose, but I don't feel sick at all. Like I worked out yesterday, so yeah. But let's talk about fitness programs though, because this will be the last week of Spring for Change. This will be the fitness week, and according to you, that's the least important week of the year.
That is not true. That is not true. What I said is of the 4 pillars, sleep can be the most impactful because it affects the other 3 quite a bit. And fitness is what I tackle last. So it is not the least important week of the year. Don't exaggerate.
Okay. Don't let the facts get in the way of a good story.
Precisely.
What are your objectives for this week?
I have really changed a lot of my fitness philosophies throughout the years. And really, the last couple of years, they've evolved quite a bit.
Okay.
So, my 20s and 30s, and even most of my 40s, I was very structured. I worked out at the same time every day. I didn't miss a workout, no excuses, etc. and so on. I'm getting old. I'm getting tired. I don't want to get up early in the morning anymore. I want to sleep. And so my fitness looks a lot different than it used to.
Okay.
My body looks a little different than it used to too, but I'm okay with that. That's my new philosophy. Make it fun, make it enjoyable, make it something I don't dread doing, and try to get something done every day.
Okay. So what's an example of that? Like how much drastically different is it now? You still get up pretty early and work out though.
You know what? I stopped. I was getting up at 10 to 4 before shift every day, and I stopped doing that maybe around a year ago because I just found that hour, a little more than an hour of sleep I really needed it. I was tired all the time. But let's just use yesterday as an example. I had some presentations going on in the morning. So I did get up early, about 5:30, and I just was not feeling like doing deadlifting at 5:30 in the morning. So I
Mm-hmm.
just went for a walk on the treadmill in the house. I got ready. I did my presentations. I got home and it was 60 degrees outside. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go for another walk because it's beautiful. And I also have a 500-mile challenge going with Joe. So I went for 2 walks yesterday and it was glorious.
I like that. I actually wondered about that because I know there's a point to being vigilant and what's the other word that I probably need more of? Discipline.
Discipline?
Yeah, I know there's a point to doing that, and that some people use that as an entire platform, right? Just discipline and maybe not even the first thing that comes to mind is that 75 hard thing because just there's features to it and you have to be disciplined and diligent doing it and all that, blah, blah, blah. But where's the break over that? This is what I always thought. Like, I think it's great that people are willing to get up early and, get up, like you said, at 4 o'clock and then get their workout in and do all this stuff and then go to work. But for us, if it's a shift day, like, are you a liability when it gets to like 9 p.m. or 10 p.m.? Are you reaping the negative rewards of that? Because it's not like you're whatever and you get to go home at 5 and then have a full night's sleep and get up at 4 o'clock in the morning again. Like, where's the breakover in being vigilant and that other word and kind of hurting yourself on the back end with shift work?
I don't know where the breakover is, but I just woke up one day, woke up at 10 to 4, and I realized I'm not enjoying this anymore. I'm not able to hop out of bed with enthusiasm and vigor and just head straight to the basement and start warming up. I actually do warm up, unlike you, start warming up and then just hop into a strength training routine. It wasn't fun anymore. And so for me, that was the breakover point.
Okay.
That was the time I had to sort of do a little self-reflection and go, you know what? This isn't working for me anymore.
I've always been a person that would rather stay up late and work out than wake up early and work out. I remember I'm sure that was like a high school meathead thing of like going to Lifetime at 11 o'clock at night, But yeah, I'd always rather do that than get up early. Even now, Katie tries to get up around 5 or a little bit earlier, especially when I'm going to work so she can get something done before she has the kids all day. But she'll ask me almost every time, like, do you want me to wake you up to work out? I'm like, no. And I want to, want to do that stuff. But when the hour comes around and I'm looking at either another hour to 45 minutes or 45 minutes to an hour of sleep or going downstairs and kind of half-assing something, I usually just pick the sleep and either write that one off for the day or just factor in 2 good ones on my off days, So maybe that's going to be a lot of the theme of this fitness thing is kind of figure out what works for you and not being pigeonholed or browbeaten into doing something that you hate just because, I don't know, someone tells you should be.
Well, I love what our mutual friend Shantae says about it. She says this about many things, not just training. She says it about nutrition and she says it about other habits, but she said give yourself permission to start small and then also let it be easy. And so for me, I'm letting it be easy. And for me, sleeping in and then grabbing a training session at work and then working a little bit harder on my days off, that's what's easy for me right now. And once I retire, I may go back to getting up a bit earlier once I get sleep every single night. I may go back to getting up earlier because I really do enjoy checking it off the list early in the morning.
It is nice. I will say the times that Katie does convince me to go down there, or if I get to do a workout before coming home from work, if we're up late or early and I decide just to go do one and then come home, it is nice to have it done. I do find now that I actually enjoy sometimes, probably 50-50. I enjoy working out with Nathan because sometimes it's fun and exciting and sometimes it's just a real pain. So it's hard to saddle like I'm going to do a really good workout today with Nathan at 9 o'clock because it's probably not going to be that great because he needs supervision. But it is fun getting him exposed to it and involved with it a little bit more. I think what we're doing is probably one of the most useful things that I've done, especially when I would bring on clients at LGN. Whenever we do our initial consultations, the first thing I made sure, not the first thing, within the first conversation, I kind of made it a point to agree with them about something they didn't like. And I think that was a thing that was missing from a lot of people's experiences in kind of like a gym culture, where they would go in and be like, listen, oh, I hate running, or I hate, let's pick like a popular movement. I hate barbell back squats, or I hate bench press. And I think what they would usually get is someone being like, well, it's really good for you. Have you tried them like this? Or maybe you should try them again? Or who taught you those? You really should do them. And what I would do is if someone was like, hey, I really hate dumbbells, like everything involving dumbbells. I just don't like them. I'd be like, oh yeah, they can really suck and they can be really uncomfortable, but we have landmines and we have barbells and we have bands. So that's cool. Like I would try to validate the stuff they didn't like and also point them towards alternatives instead of telling them instead of telling them how wrong they were for having a preference about something. And I feel like that's what we're doing here is like, if you don't like waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning and going into a strength training session, then don't. If you like doing it at 11 before lunch or 8 o'clock at night, and that's going to work for you, then do that. Like you're always going to find someone that's going to try to tell you what you should be doing based off what they like. What it all comes down to is what you like and what works for you. As long as it's working, it's not hurting anybody else, I suppose. Do that. And that's what I get from the start of this conversation. Also definitely from that Shante thing is, yeah, if it's not easy, you're less likely to continue doing it. So figure out it and let it be easy, and don't be pigeonholed and think that something has to be a major struggle to be worth it. Sometimes easy is better.
You also, though, have to be careful, and I'm finding myself getting into this trap because I was so disciplined for so long. Alarm goes off, get out of bed, put on the clothes I already laid out, drink the water that I already laid out the night before, head down to the basement, wash, rinse, and repeat. What I'm finding is that if I'm not very, very disciplined when I'm, say, coming home off of shift, if I'm not very disciplined to come home, start the load of laundry or whatever I'm going to do, and then head downstairs and get it done, it gets pushed off and pushed off and pushed off. And now, unlike before, I will blow it off. So if you're going to let it be easy, you have to also let it be, know yourself well enough to call yourself on your own bull crap. And so that's where I'm struggling just a little bit right now.
That's a good one. That'll should bring you back to your intrinsic drive on it too, though, right? Like I can push off a workout for days until I have my body dysmorphia take over, and then I have to do something immediately. But if it's easy, like if I can go play hockey in the morning after shift, I'm kind of driven to do that for a handful of reasons, and so that can be technically considered a workout. But I'm driven to do it. It's a physical activity that I can substitute as a workout. So yeah, maybe that's when your intrinsic motivation kind of takes over, where you find something you enjoy, which will inherently make whatever you're doing more easier to get engaged with and be consistent with. And then whatever initially motivated you to go do that thing, hopefully takes over at that point, and you get your ass in gear, right?
Right, precisely. And I'm just also learning that, I do not have to open up my program every single day. If I get home and I feel like, you know what, I'm going to do 10 or 20 sets of 10 kettlebell swings on the minute and call that my training session, I'm going to call it my training session. I didn't do my program, but I did something meaningful, and it was fun.
Tell me what you think about this. I think you're going to agree. I think a majority of people who would look at our programs, I'm going to speak for myself. Anybody who would actually look, if I documented what I did for workouts over the course of 6 months, I think you would be horrified at how few things I do. Like not necessarily how seldom I work out, even though that seems to be lately a thing too, but the variety of movements I do is devastatingly small. I mean, I'm talking like maybe 10 things. Maybe. It's usually very fundamental and pretty heavy and pretty intense, but there's not a lot of variation going on. I have a rotating cycle of probably 3 to 4 to maybe like 6 workouts that I can kind of go back to and change up a thing here and there or add something in here and there. But for the most part, my quote unquote program is boring, man. But I just like doing it. It's a comfortable thing. It's a familiar thing, and I get a lot out of it. And but yeah, this whole being fancy for the sake of being fancy thing, I get it, because I think Kurt and I talked about it before on an episode. We used to sit around and thinking we were inventing exercises at LGN to be creative and have fun. But if we're doing 8 movements in a workout, maybe one of those creative ones gets in there. The rest of it's just boring, heavy, intense stuff.
You know what, when you first started speaking, I was not agreeing, but now I'm completely agreeing, because truly all of my training sessions are real simple: a push and a pull, or a pull and a hinge, or one of each and a heavy carry. But yeah, there's nothing sexy about the training sessions that I program at all. And they are very similar. Like you said, I try to do some sort of a metabolic challenge at the end, whether it's 5 minutes, whether it's a little bit longer. But yeah, they're pretty meat and potatoes: push, pull, hinge, squat, carry heavy stuff around, and then work on stability and mobility.
Yeah. I mean, what else do you need, right? I mean, a little bit of novelty here and there, but yeah, nothing fancy is going to have that much of a carryover compared to what you're doing at a intense level safely. I can't remember. Did we answer what your objective was for this week? What your takeaway was going to be?
I don't think so.
I think we started telling stories about how old you are and how you don't like working
Right.
out anymore.
Right. That's not true. It's not that I don't like working out. I don't like working out at 4 a.m. anymore.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
No, I think my objective for this week is just to continue exploring and building upon my new realization about how much I hate getting up early and working out, and just making sure that I'm more consistent and I'm not writing myself permission slips to skip training sessions just because I come home and I get going on something else. So that will be my objective.
Right on. But you schedule your time pretty strictly also. Like, have you gone away from scheduling workout times in your daily planner?
No. Well, yes and no. The intention coming off of shift is always to just come home and start getting it done. But then I've got to make a Canva for something, or let me just really quick get this check deposited, just these couple business things. And then I find myself getting sucked into work mode, and then I've lost an hour, and then I'm, sometimes I get off track that way. Yeah. So I just need to be more disciplined.
All right. Schedule that stuff. Write it down, right?
Write it down. How about you? What's your objective?
Stick to the plan. The takeaway for the episode, I think in our introduction episode, I was wanting to talk about the ability to be more open towards movement variation. Like, I think you brought up the example that you can't effectively barbell back squat anymore. And I assume it's from osteoporosis, but it could be from something else. And then we talked about how a goblet squat is more than viable as an alternative to a barbell back squat. And I think what I originally wanted to do was talk about, like, listen, if you don't like a movement and you have a reason for not liking it, that's fine. So let's figure out another movement to do. And I think a lot of people get turned off because they figure if they can't do this thing that they did most likely poorly back in high school, they can't do it now, then nothing's worth doing, And I kind of wanted to break open that mentality a little bit and offer up alternatives and invite people back in, because the world is smaller than ever, and there's more information than ever, and more people like me and Annette floating around than ever. And so if you have the echoes of the high school weight room in your ears still, and you're turned off by it, understand it's much like everything else in this world now. It's a different landscape altogether. So if you have a movement that hurts you, or you just don't like anymore, or you can't stand, or you don't want to get back into, don't do it, and figure out an alternative to it. Reach out to a pro that has that whole wide dictionary or encyclopedia of movements that they can pull from that do almost the exact same thing, if not more, and get yourself back in the game, because unfortunately in our profession, you don't have the excuse of just not wanting to. If your fitness has fallen off, you kind of gotta. So sorry, it might be uncomfortable, but you got to make it happen. Now, that was going to be my original part of it, but I think I just summed it up. I thought of another thing, though, from an old presentation I did. I'm going to drop that one in there. What's your big takeaway from this week, though? Or what's your big deliverable that we're going to put on a Canva thing?
Oh, my big deliverable. If you don't know what else to do, go for a walk.
All right.
It's simple, low barrier to entry. Everyone should be able to walk. Go get yourself a nice new fancy set of sneakers and just start with a few minutes, and pretty soon you'll be walking 4 and 6 miles with me and Coach Joe.
You guys are doing a what? A 500 what?
A 500-mile goal during the summer. And if we're being honest, we'll probably be done by July 1st. We walk a lot.
How many months does that give you to get 500 miles? I know you said you'd be done early, but what would that give you if you paced it out?
Well, I guess technically if we started May, June, July, August, that's 4 full months. So it's only a little over a mile a day.
Okay. That's doable.
So it is doable.
That's doable.
Okay, don't tell anybody. I'm probably going to walk 1,000.
You're going to walk 1,000 in the summer?
I think so.
2 miles a day?
Yeah, because usually I walk 4 or 5 at a time.
Yeah. Okay. I believe you.
Yeah, I'm going to take my osteoporosis and go for a walk.
You're going to need some new tennis balls on your walker by the time you're done. They're going to be worn through. It's going to be...
I don't know why we're friends. I don't
get
understand
the value pack from Sam's Club next time you go there. The early morning hours when they open it up to you people. Well, let's see. So I had this thing. Do you remember on one of my presentations, I'm sure I gave it at the Peer Support Symposium, about the positive and negative feedback loops?
Yes.
Yeah. So I kind of wanted to get into that a little bit. And I jotted down a few notes on it. It used to be pretty polished. I used to be pretty good at it. I just thought of it 2 minutes before I sat down, so I tried to remember it. I'm going to kind of do it on the fly here. So, not scientifically speaking, you can fall into a positive or negative feedback loop in your body based on your performance and experience. And here's where I started. I'm going to start this one with your general fitness. It can start at any point in the loop to prove any number of points, and you can add points in the loop or take them out. So use this how you see fit to win any arguments you may need. But I'm going to use it for fitness, so I'm starting with your general fitness. Let's say you have poor general fitness. When you go on a call or when you go to training or when you're called upon to do something physical and you don't do well at that task, let's say it's throwing a ladder, right? You're going to do a single person 24-foot throw. If you don't do well, and part of that, if not a majority of that, is because of your fitness and your ability, so you perform poorly, you're less likely to go work on that skill or improve your performance because of the feelings you got from it. So you're going to be like, that was a terrible experience. I'm just going to put that one away. Didn't do well. Let's hope I never have to do that again. The chances of me having to do it are pretty low. I'm just going to ignore it until I don't think about it anymore. Because of your poor performance, you're less likely to go change that and get in shape. Now, the next time it comes around, you perform poorly again. Again, you're less likely to engage in anything like that, and it keeps going down, down, down. Or you can get into a positive feedback loop, whereas you have a good level of fitness, you perform well, it gives you a good feeling, you're more apt to seek out training opportunities and exercise, then improves your fitness more. Next time you do even better, and then it keeps going up and up and up. Now, you can jump into those loops at any point, right? Let's say you perform poorly on a math test, and then you don't want to do math anymore, so you don't study, and the next math test comes around and you do poorly again. You can argue for academics, but I'm using it for fitness. What I would challenge you to do is figure out somewhere in that cycle to break the negative loop, whether it's your fitness, whether it's your performance, whether it's the training or exercise things that you're avoiding because of the negative feelings of them, because of the first two things. Figure out one of those ways to crack that and turn it into either a neutral loop where you're like, listen, I'll work out I know I'm not going to be good at a 24-foot throw, but I'm going to do it to a level where I'm at least proficient at it so the training guys don't yell at me. That's even better than a negative loop. Over time, maybe you're like, hey, I threw the 24 pretty well. Maybe I'll try a 28. And then maybe you're like, I can do that. Maybe I won't be so hesitant next time we have our RIT drill. Maybe I'll get in there and get my hands dirty a little bit and feel like dragging someone. And then as the time goes on, you'll get more and more involved, less and less hesitant, because you'll have a better perceived outcome in the situation. So I think I kind of over talked myself a little bit on the negative side. I think I got the positive side down, but recognizing those two loops, and then you can kind of look around the crew or the station and see who's stuck in which one or who's kind of following each one. I would kind of challenge people that if you're in the negative one, challenge to make it neutral. If you're a positive one, keep on going, because as you continue to progress and perform well and get in better shape, it's only going to be more positive.
And so many people just don't even realize how good they can feel. And so just getting yourself into a very simple, very short routine that you do on a consistent basis using your discipline, the word that you couldn't think of, you will be amazed at how good you'll feel just by doing a little bit of something a lot of the time.
That's true. A lot of us resolve to just live in discomfort because it's easy. And like I was working with a guy who came over for a few personal training sessions, and he's like, "Man, I haven't reached my arm over my head without pain in like 20 years." I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Well, how do you reach for stuff?" He's like, "With pain." I'm like, "Okay, but like how physically do you reach for stuff?" He's like, "Well, I gotta like either get on a chair or kind of angle my body." But yeah, he's like, I just can't reach overhead like to a top shelf anymore. I'm like, "Well, why don't you do something about it?" He's like, "I don't know, I tried, but nothing works. So I just have this bad shoulder now. I just can't reach overhead." I'm like, "Dude, you can fix that. Like, maybe not, but we can work on it a little bit." And over the course of a couple of weeks, it got better. In a couple of months, it got better. And from what I know now, he's able to reach pain free overhead. I hope he still can, but yeah, this guy was like, "Yeah, I guess it just hurts now to reach overhead, so I won't be doing that anymore." But even the smallest little bit of stretching and mobility and a little bit of strengthening can drastically reduce that discomfort. So yeah, the littlest things that you think might not make a difference, like that snowball rolling downhill, man, eventually it'll make a big impact.
And I think the take home from that is sometimes you can't figure that out on your own. Sometimes you do need a professional to assess you and assist you, and that's okay.
Yeah, or just someone else that gets tired of reaching for the pickles or the peanut butter for you. Like, dude, you got to be able to fix this. I'm not pulling up your pants in a few years. What do you think one of the major roadblocks to fire and EMS kind of getting back in the weight room or committing to a fitness program is?
I think that this isn't even fire and EMS. I think this is across the board. People are not certain that it's going to work, and therefore they don't want to waste their time on something that they're not certain is going to work. But my argument back to them is, but what if it does? What if it does work, and in a year you are so much further ahead than you are right now? What if it does work?
What do you think that falls into the fear of there's fear of failure, right? But there's the other one, fear of like accomplishment or fear of success, right?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of mentally that goes into it. And I believe we talked about this before. It may have been off the air on a different episode, but when a little kid, a first grader, runs a race and doesn't come in first, second, or third, what is the first thing they always say? I wasn't trying my hardest. Because if they were trying their hardest and they didn't come in first, second, or third, that would be devastating. But
Yeah.
for them, it's easier to just say, I wasn't trying my hardest. And those children grow up to be adults. So I think it's easier for us mentally sometimes to just not try than to have to worry about that fear of success and fear of failure. Now we're deep in the psychology.
There's a whole Mighty Mighty Boston song about that. If you're thinking of it now, you know what I'm talking about. I can't.
No,
I
I
can
don't
think
even know what you're talking about.
everybody else does. Don't worry about it.
Okay, good.
Um, yeah, it's a bummer, man. I think it ties in a lot with ego too. You know, it's just I think a lot. Everybody, nobody's ignorant or doesn't see kind of how they've changed over the course of the years. I mean, ourselves included. Obviously, we talked about that. But it takes a lot to look at kind of what the fire service morphs you into, and then do something about it. You know, you might be looking at you might have put on 30 to 40 pounds in 15, 20 years, and it just feels like, God, what am I going to do with this? And it's going to take forever to take it off. So maybe I'll just live with it, you know, and I can still do the job. And soon enough, I'll be either a driver or I'll be running less calls because I'll be at the slow station. So how much work do I really want to put into this thing just to be disappointed if it doesn't work? And the other part of it is just making yourself vulnerable. Like, are you going to be that guy that is going to go down and um, kind of expose himself as out of shape? You know, you're going to put on your workout stuff and go sweat like a madman for 45 minutes and have the crew laugh at you, or that's what you think's going to happen. Or, you know, after 6 months of you trying your hardest, it doesn't work so good. Now you feel like an ass for even trying it, or letting yourself down, or you're not the kid that you think you were when it was easy to drop 10 pounds in a weekend. I mean, all those things play into it. It's a bummer because you just watch people take the slow descent down, and they get worse and worse. And, you know, as you approach retirement, that should be when you're getting like in the best shape you can. Like, you're getting everything fixed. You're losing as much weight as you can because you're about to be basically like set free. Like, you're going to have hopefully your pension coming in, and you'll have a lot less obligations every third day. You're going to be getting all the sleep that you can handle if your situation allows it. And so you're going to be probably the most able to do the most things you want to, as opposed to the past 30 years. And so we see guys that approach retirement and they get fatter and more complacent and lazier. And then they're retired and they're like, oh crap, now I got to work on this because I can't do the things that I thought I was going to be able to do 20 years ago when I thought about retirement. And it's just a bummer, man. So, you know, I guess this is my personal kind of observations, and call to everyone out there that if you're in a spot where you're either mid slide or full slide, baby, turn it around. And there's nothing more that people like to see than a comeback story. There's nothing more that people like to see that someone that gives a crap about something. And don't be afraid to give a crap. I mean, you gave a crap once to get the job. Obviously, you cared about something enough to take a test and stick around through probation and then stick around for this long. So you know how to care. Start caring about yourself, and other people will care about yourself with you. But don't be afraid to get back in it and start to make some positive changes.
And I think you made a really good point. It can be a slow descent into all of a sudden you're 40 or 50 pounds heavier. But if you could just change a couple of those things that caused that slow descent, you could right that ship and make that a slow ascent and turn it around.
Yeah, and we're not talking about becoming a bodybuilder. You know, we're talking about getting your belly under control and making sure you live more than 10 years past retirement. I think that's more what I'm talking about here, not turning you into a triathlon enthusiast. So make no bones about it. You know, I want everybody to be capable and durable and effective, and be able to retire and enjoy it. You know, that's what I tell as many people as I can, and hopefully some people are picking up on it. All right, how do you want to close this bad boy out?
Well, we need to tie everything together, which is Spring for Change is about education for improving mental health and the 4 things that we know can help us improve our mental health and that we have some control to some extent are our sleep and our nutrition, our ability to be mindful, and then our dedication to moving our body. So just going for a quick walk, doing a few sets like Chris did when he got home from his travels yesterday. Nathan was throwing tennis balls at him and he was doing whatever, jumping
That was a
jacks.
10-pound kettlebell.
But
He made it look like a
just
tennis ball. He's a monster.
just dedicating a little bit of time, carving out a little bit of time every day to just moving your body will improve your mental health, your outlook, your suffering from PTSD, anxiety, depression. It all matters. So carve out a little bit of time. You owe it to yourself.
I think that's perfect. I like the way we did this year. This was much more easy. We let it be easy this year.
We did. It was tough the last 2 years. I'm not even kidding you. It was tough.
It was good. We had well, from my side, there was a supreme lack of actual science and facts, but I think we brought far more of a conversational tone towards the 4 things this year. So I hope people liked kind of what we did. Also, don't forget, we're donating money this year. So all through April, any money donated in the Buy Me a Coffee button on the Fourth Shift Fitness website will be going towards the IAFF Center of Excellence. So go on the website. I'll be posting the link on social, but it's just fourthshiftfitness.com. You'll see the podcast page, and then you'll see a Buy Me a Coffee page, and there's a couple Buy Me a Coffee links on there. Like I said, any money donated in April is going towards the Center of Excellence. So go over there, check it out, donate. And let's see, this will come out on a Wednesday. We got the Canva coming out on Friday, and then April's over.
It went fast, and I hope everybody enjoyed it.
All right. Sign us off, Annette. Take us out.
All right. We enjoyed having you for Spring for Change. Remember that this information lives in perpetuity on Chris's website and his podcast. So we would appreciate it if you think there's someone that could benefit from this, even if it's a couple of months from now, give it a share. And until next time, happy Spring for Change.